Welcome to the 6th lesson of Enterprise Quality Management. The implementation of quality management system. Assuming that you are a quality management consultant and that you've been hired to implement a quality management initiative within a new organization, what are the issues you need to consider and actions you need to do? In the next slides, we will try to provide answers to the most important implementation questions. We'll learn how to implement a quality management system. We'll define what's quality project management, what are the critical success factors of quality project management, and what are the common quality project management pitfalls. According to research conducted in 2005 by IAM, it was found that, and by the way, the research was conducted across all industries of all types of projects, including IT, construction, manufacturing, consulting, etc. So the data points were that 25% of projects are canceled before completion. 75% of projects do not meet expectations the first time out. 51% of all failures are caused by project management process issues. 19% caused by change management, and 11% by communication, and 10% by misplanning or lack of proper planning for the project. This illustrates the importance of having proper quality project management, especially if the project involves enterprise-wide initiative rather than just a simple manufacturing process or a few processes within the organization. The implementation of quality management project consists of 5 phases. The first phase is assess, followed by, which is assessment, followed by plan, design, build, and improve. A very important parallel phase, if you'd like to call it, or parallel activity, is proper communication and collaboration all the way between phases and between personnel involved in the project. Let's go into the details of each of the activities in each phase. The assess phase, during the assess phase, you will define the scope engagement. You'll understand the requirements, identify business drivers within the organization, map the process maturity model, conduct a gap analysis, develop specific recommendations, and define success measures. During the plan phase, the second phase, you'll also assess the business drivers and cost drivers in more details. You might have to conduct cost modeling, develop prioritized recommendation, or prioritize your previous recommendation, develop a business case for top management based on cost-benefit analysis, risk and rewards, analyze the current state of the process, develop quality maturity assessment, develop a quality compliance assessment, make sure you would have a high-level timeline described, define and present the next steps to involve team members, define an approved client checklist of deliverables, include a communication plan and a project plan, a detailed project plan. In the design phase, you would need to translate the mission and vision of the organization or the department into tangible technical and business specifications. During the design phase, you will work with the client to solidify partnerships. You work with the project management to ensure that the timeline is being met and is actually reasonable. Create a system test plan, design process workflow, refine organizational structure, document roles and responsibility within the department and within the organization, design new processes if needed for the organization, and identify each process metrics. Then, of course, you will build the system based on the approved design by the client, and you will continue to monitor the performance of the quality system that you have built. You will continue to audit it, and based on the findings, you will take corrective actions and always make sure that you update your system. Another popular management framework is what's called the resource wheel. The resource wheel integrates the people, budget, process, and technology. The people aspect of the project takes care of making sure that they are properly aligned, their efforts are properly aligned, they are educated, supportive, and that the culture is open to changes. The aspect of the project management ensures that transformation takes place to create a real value within the organization. As for the technology, technology is used to enable efficient and effective support process across the entire enterprise. And as for budget, is you have enough money to pay for the project and for future maintenance and updates of the quality system. Other implementation consideration would be the culture change, coaching and mentoring at the people element. At the process, we strongly recommend that you use templates, ready-made assessments that you can customize and have a structured implementation. At the technology, whenever possible, do make sure that you automate processes and fully exploit technology investments. As for the budget, never forget to include, in addition to the cost, never forget to conduct break-even analysis and return on investment. There are three critical processes part of quality project management. The first is resource management, the second is engagement management, and the third is knowledge management. Resource management is well understood. It has to do with the allocation of resources for the project. It has to do with scheduling and assignment and utilization management. For the engagement management involves the project accounting and billing, as well as time and expenses reporting. For the knowledge management, it involves the documentation of learned lessons and new concepts to build an intellectual capital that can be shared with your client. From our experience, the best practices approach for implementing a quality management should be business-centric, meaning that it's focused, your project implementation should be focused on the business, not on the technology or the process, although both are important. Whenever possible, try to innovate and solve problems for the client. Make sure you simplify your communication and your documentation to make it easy to understand and maintain. Whenever possible, use templates like I mentioned earlier. This would save you in time, errors, and money. Do package your deliverables and your knowledge as well as product modules to be reused whenever possible and to share the wealth of practical experience. Train your clients and your teammates to transfer the knowledge. Automate to increase productivities. Integrate for effectiveness and efficiency. Communicate and once more communicate. You can hardly over-communicate in complex projects. Many projects fail due to the lack of miscommunication and lack of communication or miscommunication. Whenever possible, facilitate across different departments and teams. With that, we conclude the approach, the best practice approach to the project management. Let's take a look at the project life cycle. There are, or life cycles for that matter. There are 5 life cycles for any project, including enterprise quality management implementation. The first project is pre-engagement. The first phase or life cycle is pre-engagement. The second is the kickoff life cycle or kickoff phase, where you meet with the client and you start the project. Then the third phase is the engagement, where you engage the client. The fourth phase is close out of the project. When it is completed, the fifth phase is or life cycle is the follow-up with the client for any pending issues and for improvement from learned lessons. I would like to spend more time to explain or to provide a mini checklist of best practices for each of the 5 phases or life cycles. Pre-engagement. Always make sure that you prepare. Do your homework, study the client environment, people, and tools. Prepare questions and checklist of topics to be covered in advance. Collect information, including customer surveys, if available to you, account reviews, business metrics that's being used by the client, management requests, internal surveys, and best practices. Choose the right team. Review the scope of work and the statement of work, the scope of the project and the statement of work. Develop a delivery strategy. Share it with your team members. And develop a detailed project plan. For short gigs or short projects, you might want to have that are less than 6 weeks. You might have a simplified project plan in the form of action list. Make sure you brief your team. Obtain sample deliverables from previous engagement to show the clients so they know what to expect. They are normally curious. Create a project book or a project folder that by which you will collect and keep the records you go through or ask from the client during the engagement. Always manage expectations. And with managing expectations, a very important trick for a management consultant is to under-promise and over-deliver. So if you think that a project would take, say, 4 weeks, make sure you ask for 5 weeks so you'd have a tolerance factors in case things come up during the project implementation. One more note is to be confident that management will help address your concerns if they know about them. So always communicate your concerns to the client. You have to be honest if you haven't worked, for example, with a specific technology in a while, or you have seen problems in similar engagement. If you also have some days off or vacation scheduled, make sure you incorporate that into your plan and you inform your clients about it. If there are conflict in timing and requirements, always try to negotiate a win-win arrangement. Also, always use action plans. Be a customer advocate. Customer is always king, and his satisfaction should be your #1 priority. Focus on process improvement. Identify escalation points. Alert customers of any issues early and often. Share with them success stories and knowledge that you have gained. Also, at the kickoff meeting, first thing first. So make sure that kickoff happens as soon as you arrive at the organization. Sometimes things are busy, so be patient. Use kickoff review template and checklist. Review the statement of work. Set realistic expectations with the client. Review the delivery plan and milestones when estimating resources and time and budget. Like I said, always under-promise and over-deliver. Set up status meetings. Specify the dates, the times, and the participants. During the kickoff meeting, always ask questions and take notes. Discuss any schedule issues. Like I said before, client is curious and doesn't know what to expect, so be prepared. You need to gain their trust. You need to show interest and related experience. After the kickoff meeting is complete, you list the summary of the meeting by following up with an email recapping what has been agreed and what are the next steps. Engage. During the engagement phase or life cycle, make sure you maintain the project folder, update the project plan, and be proactive in handling issues. Keep the client informed of the budget and collaborate with your team members as well as with the client. obtain client feedback at all stages. Don't manage the scope and don't allow what's commonly known as scope creep. Make sure you focus the client on the project deliverables. If there are any changes, make sure that it goes through proper change management plan that is approved by client management and your management if you're working in a consulting firm. Look for other opportunities to improve client qualities and share them with them. Remain focused. You can get very easily distracted with issues, politics in a large organization, especially if you're working on enterprise-wide projects and dealing with so many managers and so many departments. Never forget about knowledge transfer. It's one of the most important values you can provide your client. Whenever possible, provide value added to make the client happy. During the engagement, you conduct status meetings and reportings. You set the goals for the meeting. You verify that actions from previous meetings were met. You review any changes. Whenever there is an issue, make sure you focus on producing solutions, not problems. Have a positive mindset instead of seeing things as problems or people as problems. It's better to see things and address them as challenges that you both can learn from and grow and overcome. During the status meeting, review any updates or additions to your project book. List the next action items and assignments for the next meeting. And of course, publish meeting minutes and distribute them to stakeholders. The fourth life cycle is the closeout process, during which you have to make sure that you have met the expectations. The closeout process actually starts about 2 weeks before the actual end of the project. 1 week before the end of the project, provide drafts to the client, conduct a peer review of the documentation and deliverables, review your timeline, specify a timeline for response from the client, conduct a final review of the project folder and deliverables, conduct a mini closeout within 1 week to go, and schedule the final closeout. Of course, after you conduct the final closeout, it doesn't mean, although the project has ended, it doesn't mean that your relationship with the client has to end too. So make sure you utilize this experience to obtain client feedback, to learn more about your performance within the client organization. Communicate that feedback to any colleagues or team members, and share the lessons, both success and failures, from your experience. Critical success factors for project management include knowing your customer well, their needs, their challenges, their aspirations, and their goals. Always, whenever you are involved in a project, have a statement of work that states exactly what's expected from you and what's expected from the client. Always obtain buy-in through consensus. Build trust by demonstrating highest levels of ethics and quality of service and support. Be diplomatic. Avoid, whenever possible, avoid being sarcastic, avoid getting back at the client, and never insult a team member or a client, even if they actually start with the even if they behave inappropriately. Remember, team leadership requires you being accepted as a member of the team. Make sure you share your pains and rewards with your team to build rapport, and be a coach and a mentor whenever possible. Manage changes, use methodologies, templates, and checklists whenever possible. What are quality best practices? Always make sure that best practices are identified and developed. Quality is used as a business metric at the enterprise. It's part of the enterprise culture. And quality management, realizing that quality management is a continuous improvement and a closed loop process. Have a quarterly enterprise quality program review with action plans, survey actions. Do it right at the first time whenever possible. And the next two slides will outline what not to do as quality project manager, or we will list the key project management pitfalls. You need to always balance between strategic and tactical goals. You cannot focus only on strategic goals without quick wins. If that strategic goals tends to be long-term, and if you cannot produce results early, sometimes some of the managers might not find enough justification to continue with the project. So at the same time, you do not want to focus on tactical objectives like reducing costs immediately by, for example, firing or laying off few people. At the same time, in the long term, when the company is growing, then you need to rehire people to replace them. So that's also additional waste and inefficient way of focusing your goals. So always try to balance between strategic and tactical goals. It's very important to win leadership support. You cannot implement a successful quality management system within an organization without top-level executive support. Always adhere to project management best practices. Some of the mistakes that project managers do is that they do not consider process engineering or capability maturity model when implementing their projects, or they ignore the cultural change aspect of the project, or do not integrate between the 4 elements of the resource wheel, which is budget, people, process, and technology. Some of the other implementation pitfalls is to provide too much theory in your documentation, or provide general information and not being specific enough for the staff to be able to translate the objectives into actionable quality improvement. Other pitfalls is providing too much details on process documentation or too less details. Again, other pitfalls would be to just focus on quality standards without taking any consideration for other internal and external standards, including legal requirements, or not knowing where to start or where to end when you implement the project. The final concept or pitfall that I'd like to emphasize as a quality manager or quality professional is to beware of bureaucracy. The purpose of a quality management system is to improve performance, not to promote bureaucracy. You do not want to create layers of delays. You do not want to create loads of additional documents and unnecessary reporting. Otherwise, you are actually hurting the quality or hurting the effectiveness of the quality management system within the organization, not helping it. Many companies write huge binders full of procedures to fulfill customers' ISO 9000 standards, for example, regardless whether these procedures do the company any good. In such cases, engineers and personnel recognize that they are simply facing bureaucratic exercise and ridicule the entire quality assurance system. So let's summarize what we have learned in this lesson. We learned how to implement a quality management system. We learned how to manage quality projects. And we listed what are the key success factors for project management and what are the project management pitfalls. For more information on project management, we recommend that you visit PMI, projectmanagementinstitute.org, and iam-edu.org. With this slide, we come to the end of the lesson 6 of quality management system implementation. For more information on this project, for more information on this lesson, and additional exercises, question and answers, and information on the reference textbook, please visit UNINETTUNO website and click on Medhat Younes section. Thank you and see you in the next lesson.